Chief Minister.
Thank you, Prime Minister. It did feel a little like the greatest hits of the Federation, this COAG meeting. Things we've all heard before, discussions that have been going on and on and on. That we were able to move beyond just the discussion on items beyond the 24-hour news cycle. It's perhaps encouraging. On the specifics of the outcomes, health. Well, look, to put this in perspective, $250 million was cut from Canberra's hospitals. We'll get about $50 million back as a result of this outcome. And I needed a side deal with the Prime Minister in order to be able to achieve that. So I appreciate that support, Prime Minister, but it's still disappointing that we have not properly resolved this matter. On education, if there is going to be a fundamental change in the Federation and who has responsibility for education, we can't separate government and non-government schools. That's a line in the sand for the ACT. In the simplest of terms, if the states and territories are going to take responsibility for school education, then it should be all schools. We shouldn't have this split between Commonwealth funding for non-government schools and the states and territories having responsibility for government schools. So it's one in, or we don't change. On tax reform, the ACT, together with South Australia, demonstrate that it is possible to reform taxes at a state level, and we have continued year on year to reform our taxes, to abolish stamp duties and insurance taxes and move towards broad-based land taxes. So it is possible, and there are jurisdictions undertaking this reform. That doesn't detract from the fact that as a nation we have a revenue problem, and I agree with my colleagues on that point. Finally, I'm delighted that we have an in-principle agreement across the Federation for a nationally consistent reportable conduct scheme. And let's be clear that public confidence in the ability of institutions of all sizes and types to respond appropriately to allegations of abuse or neglect towards children, there's shaken public confidence as a result of the Royal Commission. Our institutions across the jurisdictions need to be able to respond. The inconsistencies that are there in the levels of oversight, it's certainly creating difficulties in identifying risks for children and young people. So we need a harmonised, reportable conduct scheme, and that my colleagues have agreed to that is a great advance today, and I thank them for that.